It's just a fascinating space that you're in right now. I'm just wondering, there's just so much buzz about plant-based meats. Do you see what you're doing as more of a competitor or something that complements the industry?
Hi, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. Oh, definitely a compliment. It's not a competition at all. Given the fact that the world's going to be 10 billion in population in the next couple of decades, we just need more sustainable, nutritious, and delicious sources of food. And it's going to be plant-based and cell-based all the way.
There's a lot of questions about how commercially viable lab-based meats can be, because you have to scale up, you have to be able to grow the tissue in these sorts of mediums that are quite costly as well. How do you tackle the cost issue?
Sure. I mean, just for us, when we started off, we spent about $10,000 per kilogram growing the meat. And right now we're at about $1,000 or $1,500. So in about 2.5 years, we've come down 10 times, and coming down another 10 times is not going to take too long for us. I think the question about scalability and price reduction is just economies of scale at the end of the day. Also, there has to be more demand for these products, which we definitely predict it will be there, and that'll bring down the price as well as bring up the scale. I think the industry, I think we have to, keep in mind that the industry is less than 6 to 7 years old. So it is going to take maybe another 2 or 3 years for all of these companies to scale up and bring that price down.
So when you talk about pricing, it is key, as you mentioned. How much lower can it go, and what's the target price?
Right. So by the end of this year, we aim to be at about $50 per kilogram for the shrimp meat. But we want to go as low as $5 per kilogram, right? So that's how you get it into every country possible around the globe, and you make sure that it's accessible by everybody, and it's nutritious and sustainable and delicious. So I would say our projections are that in the next couple of years, I'm talking about less than 5 to 7 years, we should be at the $5 per kilogram.
All this conversation is happening at a time when sustainability has come forth and climate change is front and center. In terms of energy burn, in terms of energy consumption, in doing what you're doing, give us a sense of what we're seeing right now.
Sure. I mean, for us, from day one, we've been thinking about what source of energy we're going to use eventually when we set up our manufacturing plant, which should be ready next year. So we're already looking at, can we solar power it? Can we use renewable energy? What sort of energy consumption are we looking at? One of the key advantages of working with seafood and stem cells from seafood is they actually require no heating per se. So that means you actually use lesser energy. We're also looking at how we can recycle water, recycle the liquid medium in which we grow our cells, sort of looking at a complete zero waste circular economy kind of manufacturing. I don't have the right answers yet because we don't have our first manufacturing plant up yet. But when we have it next year, I'm sure I'll give you the answers.
And who is your target customer? Because it's not like it's like plant-based meat where you're targeting vegetarians, but this is still made from animals, right? This is still animal meat in certain ways. So what sort of advantages do you see that this has to plant-based meat?
For sure. I mean, cell-based seafood or meats cannot be labeled vegan, right? So the source is still stem cells. It has once come from an animal. So it is to the DNA level, actual meat, real meat, and so on. So keeping that in mind, our target consumers are actually the meat eaters and the seafood eaters. So because they still love their meats and seafood. And I would say this, on the record that it's impossible to convert everybody to become vegans and vegetarians. So we are still going to love our meats and seafood. We're offering them a better option. We're offering them a delicious, nutritious, tasty option that won't have them think about the conventional product anymore. That's kind of our aim. But at the same time, for a vegetarian like me, who doesn't eat meat or seafood for ethical reasons, I still enjoy our products because I know it hasn't come from a slaughterhouse. It's come from, and I know the source of it, and I know how it's made.
Sandhya, in the end, it is about traction. In terms of regulatory approval, Singapore is, I think right now, the only one that's given the go-ahead. I mean, how soon do you think other countries will join the ranks?
I think in the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to see at least another 5 countries joining this race to get the regulatory approval or the review in place. We're already hearing some of the Asian countries looking towards that. Definitely the US has been looking into this as well. So we're hoping it'll be at least another 5 countries in the next 12 months.